Hey there, Facebook. It's Dan. Happy New Year. I hope that you all had a wonderful Christmas season. And I wanted to share with you a thought I had this week. I don't know what coffee shop you go to. I happen to still be a Starbucks guy. It's close to my house, and I'm a gold card member, so I get free refills. It's really nice when you're working there all day. But they made a change this week for the first time in their 43-year history of being a coffee franchise. Now, when you order a drink from Starbucks, you have 1,000 options, right? You can get a latte, a mocha, an Americano, a flat white, all those general things. Then, of course, you can add all the flavors and syrups, vanilla, caramel, maybe seasonal things like pumpkin spice. And pro tip, if you're like me and you love the Christmas drinks, peppermint is available all year round. You don't have to wait till next December. And then, of course, there's all the milk options: whole milk, skim milk, coconut milk, soy milk, all these other crazy milk substitutes. You have all of these options, but the one thing that you cannot change when you order a drink at Starbucks is the foundation of the drink, the espresso itself. Now, you can get it in caffeinated or decaffeinated, but there's only one roast for 43 years in the history of Starbucks. This foundational part of the drink, it's been dark. They call it bold and roasty. And if you don't like it, if it's too bitter for you, likely you've already jumped ship to another coffee shop, or maybe you put extra syrup or extra cream into it. That was the only option. And for a long time, that was fine because Starbucks is the big behemoth brand, right? They were the ones that for a long time, for a couple decades there in the middle of their 43-year history, they really set the tone. They were growing and expanding, and whatever Starbucks did, everybody else copied. And they didn't have to offer us an option for the foundation of their drink. But as I'm sure you know, over the last 10 years, Starbucks has lost some of their power in the marketplace. I even opened the video practically apologizing for still going to Starbucks. I love it, but I know that there's a lot of people who don't love it. People who want to save money, there are now way better inexpensive options, right? Some of the fast food places, even some gas station coffee really isn't that bad nowadays. And for the people that don't mind spending some money on coffee, they're likely going to local coffee shops. And even though Starbucks employs people from your local community, it doesn't feel quite as personal or quite as local as that independent coffee shop. And of course, independent coffee shops can do something that Starbucks can't, and that is experiment and try new things there just locally. They can do things in small batches because they don't have to resource and supply thousands of stores all around the world. And if an experiment doesn't work, they don't go bankrupt over it. So local coffee shops have certainly grown in popularity, in part because they offer options. And for the longest time, this didn't really bother Starbucks. But today, or this week, I should say, Starbucks has offered a new espresso roast, blonde espresso. Haven't tried it yet. I don't know if it's good or not. And certainly offering one more option in the espresso roast is not going to suddenly turn the behemoth of Starbucks into a niche local coffee shop. But I do think it's interesting that a really big organization, a really big, practically institution in the culture, has decided to change something that has been the foundation of their success for a long time. And maybe this sounds familiar to you. It certainly sounded familiar to me as someone who works in the church world. The church for the longest time has been able to do whatever it wanted because it was the trendsetter, because it was the center of culture, because it maybe even dictated culture. But certainly for the last couple decades, the church, like Starbucks, has lost some of its influence. Some of the things that have been foundational to its success are maybe not working anymore, or maybe people are looking for other options. And so as we start a new year, I want to ask you, what is the espresso roast for your church? Now, I'm not talking about the foundations of your church like the gospel, or that Jesus Christ, died for our sins and rose again, and that we can have a relationship with God. That gospel is so deep and foundational. That's foundational to our faith. I'm talking about what is foundational to your ministry. What are the practices? What are the techniques? What are the things that have maybe been successful for your ministry in the past that it's time to change? Certainly, it's easy to point to worship style. If you have a choir that is well past its time, it used to be the thing that attracted everybody in the community, and it doesn't anymore. Maybe it's time to move on. But before you accuse me of just condemning traditional worship, there are some worship bands out there that were attracting people 10 years ago that aren't attracting people anymore. And maybe it's time to reinvent even our modern or contemporary worship because it's not actually contemporary anymore. And certainly there are all kinds of ministry groups and ministry programs in our churches all across the country and even around the world that are sticking around because they've been foundational to our success or foundational to our identity. But I want to challenge you. If Starbucks can open up just a little bit and offer a different espresso roast, I think we too can open up our ministries and try new things. I hope you're having a great start to 2018. I'm really excited for what we get to do together this year as God works in and through us as ministry leaders and organizations. Thanks, and have a great day.